Welcome, dreamers. Tonight, we descend into silence. Not the peaceful kind. This is the silence after the world ends.
I need evac now.
The world was called Dantioch, a
Hello?
hive city
Hello?
pressed
Can you
against
hear
the
me?
stars,
My team is gone. My team.
burning
team.
bright with the lives of billions.
My team
Now
is gone.
it's ash, choked sky, black snow, a graveyard of steel and bone. No transmissions,
How come
no
nobody
rescue
can hear
ships
me?
come in.
No.
The Tyranids are here. They eat everything, and yet somehow you're still alive. You were a guardsman, a low ranked, no glory. Just a laser gun, a flare, and a name they've always scratched off the regimental roster. But the flare still works. And maybe, just maybe, someone is still listening. So tonight, you survive. Let the fire fade behind your eyes. Let the ache in your arms go quiet. And if you hear static, if you hear a voice in the dark, follow it. There is still a way out, but only if you keep moving. Now, let us begin. The first thing you feel is weight, heavy, pressing down on your chest like a slow falling stone. You try to breathe, but the air is thick, not just with dust, but with heat, the kind that smells of metal and ruin. A low ringing clings to your ear, not loud, just constant, like the aftermath of something you were never meant to survive. It takes time, longer than you like, to remember where you are or what you are. But you know you're not a corpse. Not yet. Beneath the fractured visor of your helmet, your eyes adjust to dim light. A crack above your head filters in the faintest suggestion of a sky above you. Not blue, not even gray, but yellowed and diseased, like an old bruised spread across the heavens. Ash drifts past the opening, thick as snow but darker, slower. You're halfway buried in a collapsed concrete building. The structure's bones broken clean through. You feel a fire smoldering somewhere nearby, but the smoke is cold, all the heat long since bled out. Pain blooms in your ribs as you shift your weight, and again your leg as you push yourself upright. The armor did its job, barely. Your left boot is bent, but nothing feels shattered. You grunt, not in anger, not in defiance, just to hear yourself, to make sure you're still here. Hive, Dantioch, Imperial above. You've seen it before from orbit, a spiral of light beneath the clouds, stretching out in all directions like a circuit board, a marvel of imperial order. Now it's silent. The hive towers, once impossible, so tall, lined with windows and banners and vox chimes. are shattered, cracked open like old teeth. There's no movement, no chatter across the Vox links. You adjust the dial, switching through frequencies, one by one. Nothing. Just static. You know that sound too well. Your fingers fumble through your kit, checking what's left. One flare, one ration, one laser gun lies nearby. Casting, melted near the muzzle. You sling it away, old habits or maybe hope. No map or no command, but one thing remains: the spire. Half cracked, but still standing. The administrative tower rises above the skeleton of the hive. Once the voice of the city, now just a hollow tooth against a broken sky. But it's high, and high means signal, and signal means maybe, just maybe, someone will hear you. You push forward through the wreckage, your steps echoing softly through the corridors, stripped of life. Personal shrines lie scattered among shattered furniture, candles long melted downs. The kind of things people make when they know the end is coming. And there's no time for prayers to reach the Emperor. You pass the remains of families curled together under arch. They never even moved. You nod once, not in pity, but in respect, as you walk through this grimy corridor. Then, a sound, not loud, not near, but real. Movement beyond the shattered tram line. Something's brushing against the debris, slow and carefully. As you freeze, you breathe, catching for a moment. You can tell it's not. You can tell if it's real or imagined. But the ash doesn't lie. It swirls, it settles, and then it moves. You raise your lad's gun without thinking. You know it's useless. The power cell's cracked, half drained. Still, you keep it steady. The weight is familiar. You wait. The smoke folds in on itself, then vanishes. Could have been the wind. Or not. It doesn't matter. You're not staying here. And you're not dying in this hole. As you get up, you move. Step after step through the dead hive, past the echoes of the world already lost, towards the only thing that still reaches for the sky. The flare presses cold against your side. Not yet, you think. Not until someone's watching. Not until it matters. And until then, You keep walking. You make your way through what used to be a transit hub. A tangle of rails and skeletal transports. Long since stilled, they hang off their tracks like bones of some massive creature, one gutted by time and war. The ground beneath your boots is slick with oil that has run warm in days. Scorched footprints led nowhere. You stop counting the burned outlines. The wind shifts, and for a moment the silence is broken. A voice, no louder than a breath, riding on the static of your Vox link. It's gone before you can process it, but it was there. Not a scream, not some animal hiss, a voice. You freeze beside a shattered vendor kiosk. Press a hand to the side of your helmet, adjusting the Vox dial ever so slightly. The frequency wavers hiss. Then it crackles again. Faint, but there. A woman's voice, clipped, controlled. Imperial dialect, mid-sector cadence. Dantioch receiving flare. Then, nothing. Just hollow breathing of static.
Testing.
Your heart beats faster,
Hello?
not with fear. Something else. Hope. You tap the side of your helmet. Say again. Repeat last. This is Guardsman. But the link dies before your name can escape your mouth.
This is Guardsman. Repeat.
You stand still for a long time, letting the sound settle into memory. It could have been a loop, a ghost signal. It could have been the last echo of someone already dead. Or it could be real. And if it's real, then someone is alive. Someone is close. You scan your surroundings, the broken glass, the rusting benches. The statue of Saint Tarsius lies cracked on the ground. His sword broken off, his eyes forever fixed on the heavens. You remember being told once that the Emperor watches through saints like him. You don't know if you believe it, but it's still. You nod to the ruined saint and keep moving. The air thickens as you cross into once was the market promenade. Tattered banners hang limp in the stagnant air, their devotional script half burned, half buried under grime. Strength through labor, one reads. Another says, by flame we are made pure. The irony would be funny if it weren't stepping over bones to read them. Then, a line scorched into the ferrocrete wall. You kneel beside it. The mark is deep, melted with acid. You know this pattern. Tyrant. You've seen what they leave behind. Gouged path like this jagged lizard Their way is carved through matter like it's waxed. It's fresh, not warm, but recent. You rise slowly, fingers brush the flare at your side. You could fire it now, risk wasting it, or keep going. The spire is still ahead. The signal, whoever she was, she might have come from there. Or maybe she's moving like you, trying to stay ahead of the swarm, trying not to be heard. You tighten your grip on your lasgun. Melted or not, even a broken weapon feels better than no weapon at all. The shadows are longer now, and the ashfall grows thicker, but you press forward, one step at a time, guided not by orders or maps or prayers, but by the single fragile thread of a voice that said one word you needed to hear. The ascent begins slower than you hoped. The path to the spire is fractured, not just by time, but by purpose. Whole sections of the upper hive were torn away as if something massive had taken a bite from the city crown and spit it out. Steel rebar twists up from shattered walkways like grasping fingers. Glass crunches under your feet as you step. Every motion echoes. Even your breathing seems to be loud. The silence is no longer peaceful. Now it feels like a warning. You pass the course of a chimera transport, split in two and half melted. The tracks are torn from the vehicle as if they tried to pull themselves free at the last second. Inside, there's nothing left but armor, scraps, and one helmet. Its eye lens is still glowing faint green. You don't stop. As you keep walking, you look up. Higher, the city narrows. The old manufacturing sector leans toward each other now, hunched and broken like kneeling giants. The air grows thin and cold. You climb over buckled stairwells, and you reach the open lift of a half-destroyed platform. And that's when you see it. Across the courtyard, just beyond a collapsed Vox Tower, something is standing perfectly still. Tall, lean, almost human in shape, but not quite. It doesn't move. It doesn't breathe. What is that? At first, you think it's a statue. What is that over there? Ruined and overgrown with grime. But the longer you look, the more certain you are that it's looking back. A lector, a Tyranid vanguard. Killers that don't hunt with speed, but with silence, stillness, patience. You freeze, crouch low. Your breath catches, not out of fear, but instinct. Some deep, ancient part of you knowing that to move is to die. The lictor doesn't twitch. It just stands there, shrouding in haze and shadow, its long talons hanging low like blades that grew from bones. And it waits. That's what makes them different. Gounts charge. Hormagounts leap. But lictors, they think, they plan. They let you imagine you're safe, and then they end you. You crouch lower. The lip of the snapped railing barely daring to look. The creature remains frozen, almost sculpted into ruin. You begin to back away, slowly, deliberate. No sudden motion. Your boots brush against loose stone. It falls. A single clatter, small but loud enough. Your heart slams into your ribs as you turn towards the sound. But the lictor is gone. Not running, not leaping, just gone. You whip around your lasgun up, aiming at every angle, but there's nothing. Only the broken walls, only smoke, only silence. And now the silence feels alive, as if the entire city has turned its head to watch you. You don't wait. You run. You run through the broken archway, down a service tunnel littered with cracked corpse. You slide past a sparking conduit, jump over a fallen pipe, all while your ears strain to hear anything. Footstep, a breath, a hiss, but there's nothing. You finally stop. It's not because you're safe. It's because you can't run anymore. Your legs ache, your legs burn, and your helmet is fogged from within. You lean against the wall of what used to be a cooling tower, and you let yourself listen. Still, no sound. You don't know if that makes it better or worse. What you do know is this. You've seen it now. It knows your scent. And it's a lector. It won't chase. It will wait. It will watch. And choose the right moment to strike. You glance towards the spire again. Now, just 2 levels above. You've went so far. Getting higher and higher. You're so close. But every step from now on, you'll be haunted, not by chance, but by something smarter than you, something that already imagining how you taste. The spire was once unreachable, a fortress of bureaucracy, sealed to all but the upper hive's elite and the priest who kept the wheel turning. Now it groans like a dying god. Its walls buckled, its doors torn open. Veins of fire, rusted piping, exposed like ribs beneath torn flesh. You slip through a crack in the buckhead. Lays gun raised, senses straining, not just for the lictor, though that thought still stalks you, but for something worse. The sense that even silence here has memory. The corridor ahead slanted, its floors partially collapsed. Light flickers at the far end. Not harsh, like fire, softer, steady, warm. You approach slowly, boots crunching under melted devotional beads. Every step feels wrong, like walking through a dream someone else left behind. And then you see it, a chapel, a small half buried in the side of the spire. Its front door is broken inward, and inside, a flame still lit. Not tech, not plasma. An open fire, a candle. Tall beeswax. Guttering at its base stands atop a simple altar, and around it 100 more, some broken, some melted and flat. But this one burns. The symbol of the Aquila looms behind it. Scorched and cracked, but recognizable. Worn into the wall like a fading memory of faith. And kneeling before it, a figure. Human, still, clad in torn white robes. Hospitaller's uniform. You raise your weapon instinctively. Breath caught. She doesn't turn, doesn't speak. But she's breathing. One shoulder rises, then falls, slow, shallow. You step forward. She hears you this time. Turns her head. A scar runs down one cheek, fresh and half healed. Her eyes are calm, too calm. For someone alone in a world like this. You're late, she says. Voice cracked but clear. Like someone who's spoken too long to ghost. But I suppose everyone is now. You lower your weapon. Her name is Sister Kadra. Medicae. She was part of a release column long ago. She says torn apart near the spaceport when a swarm of descended came down on her. She'd been patching up wounded civilians in the chapel when the bombardment started. She tried to signal the fleet, tried again when the first shadows passed overhead, and no response. Until a few moments ago, she heard something in the Vox static. You. This was the voice you were listening for. The voice that was searching on your Vox link. You sit across from her on a piece of fallen pillar. She hands you a canteen almost empty, but clean. You drink it. You drink it like it's sacred, you're so thirsty. Outside, the ash continues to fall. Inside, the flame flickers gently, untouched. There's still a ship, she says, after a long silence. Imperial Navy patrol class. For now, it's holding orbit. 12 minutes, maybe less. Then it moves on. You meet her eyes. She sees the question before you ask. You want to be seen, she nods upwards. Then you'll need to reach the highest point. There's an old signal gantry just above the spiral roof. Manual flare platform. You reach for your flare on your side, still intact, but your hands are trembling, and she notices. She says nothing. Instead, she unclasps something from around her neck. A Rosarius. Chipped and faded, its protected field long drained. Still, she presses it into your palm. Not for miracles, she murmurs. For memory. If you're going to climb into the mouth of the storm, take something worth remembering. You close your fingers, look at her, and nod. The two of you sit there for a while longer. Just being. Two survivors in the shadow of the dead city, with a single flare between them and 12 minutes to be seen by the stars. You leave the chapel in silence, not because there's nothing to say, but because anything worth saying would feel too small. The Rosarius sits heavy in your chest pocket, warmer than it should be. You don't believe in miracles, but something about the way she gave it to you. This protective amulet, you'll carry it, even if only to remember. The star well leading upward is barely intact. Each step groans beneath your weight, metal warped by heat and age. You pass floor after floor of nothing. Old offices, shattered shrines, rooms stripped bare. At one point, you find a cracked wall with the mural half burned away. A child had drawn it. You can still make out a sun, a garden, a stick-figure family standing in front of the spire that once looked proud. You don't look too long. You've already seen what happened to the world they dreamed of. Then, higher still, you walk. Finally, you reach the level where the air shifts. It's colder here, but not dead. The corridor ahead is darker than the rest, wet, laced with strands of something glittering, not silk, organic. You recognize the signs. Infestation. The Tyranids have made this place theirs. The walls pulse ever so slightly, like lungs still breathing. A low hum vibrates through the floor, barely audible. Some kind of signal, pheromone-based perhaps. Carrying orders from the hive. You grip your lance gun tighter. Even if it won't fire, you give it your purpose. You'll beat them over the head with it. You slow your breath. One step, then another. You cross a mess, torn piping, where thick strands of biomatter stretch like veins. The ceiling above is broken open. The skylight long ago shattered. You glance up and see the clouds. They hang motionless as if time has stopped. Just above the hive. And then the sound changes. A scrape. From somewhere deeper, not close, but not too far away. Your body tenses. You duck behind the half-melted machine housing, crouch low. The hum continues, undisturbed. But you know what's coming. Gaunts. Not clever like the lictor, but many and fast. You move. Not toward the sound, away from it. Quick and quiet, down a maintenance hall lined with dripping vents. Then, something beneath your foot gives. A loose cable. You stumble. Just slightly, but enough. The flare tucked in your side strap slips free. Clatters across the metal. And then a scream. Not human. Not close, but echoing. You scoop the flare. It's dented, but still intact. You hop. You run, not for glory, not for vengeance, just to live. The corridor explodes behind you with movement. Clittering claws, pounding limbs, snarls that echo with hunger. You don't look back. You fly through the narrowing hall, past pulsing walls, through rusted arch that shattered as you pass beneath it. Your leg hits a jutting pipe. You fall, catch yourself with your hands. Pain. You think you've cracked your wrist. There's no time to care though. The head, a breach in a wall. A crawl space. No wider than a coffin. You dive, drag yourself in, scraping, fades and snarls vanishing. You lie still, mouth full of ash, lungs on fire, and then nothing. No pursuit, no sound. Just your heartbeat pounding against the metal. You breathe. Once. Twice. Then again. The flare is gone. Lost somewhere in the tunnel. or maybe smashed in the fall. You feel the weight of that loss like a blade against your chest. Without it, there is no signal. Without it, there is no hope. You don't finish the thought. Instead, you reach into your chest pocket, pull out the Rosarius. It hums faintly, still warm, still there. You stare up through a crack in the ceiling. The stars. You stare up through a crack in the ceiling. The stars are just visible through the ash, tiny, flickering impossibly far. You lie there quiet, trying to remember the last time you felt anything close to warmth, trying to convince yourself that the stars are still watching. And then something stirs in your memory. Your boot. Not the standard issue pair, but the old pair. The ones you modified after Erevan. The one you jammed a backup flare inside, just in case. You fumble with the strap. Rip the stitching loose with shaking hands. And there it is, a second flare. Scratched, rude, but there. You laugh. Dry and bitter, but it's enough to make the silence feel less final. The spire roof isn't far now. You're bleeding, your hands ache. The lictor still stalks somewhere above, but the flare is back in your grip, and you're not ready to go yet. The wind cuts harder now. High above the city, it's colder, meaner. Like the hive itself doesn't want you to reach any higher. You climb the final flights with your shoulders pressed to the wall, using cracked conduits as handholds, steel girders as ladders. Your legs are shaking. You've lost too much blood. But your hand won't let go of the flare. Not now, not this one. A final hatch looms ahead. Round, rust-bitten, its wheel locked stiff from time and heat. You brace. Strengthen your legs, and you twist. Its groans are loud, echoing through the shafts like a death knell. And then it opens. The rooftop is broken, half sheared off by a bombardment, but still high enough to reach the stars. You step out into it, into a world of red sky and distant fire. The wind roars here, but above the smoke you see them, the stars, still there, still watching. And among them, a flicker of silver, the hull of a ship, angular, Imperial. 12 minutes, less now. You move towards the old gantry, a skeleton broadcast mast rising from the corner of the spire. Its frame is blackened, cables long severed, but the flare port is still there. Manual ignition, just enough. And then you feel it. Not a sound, not a breath, but something colder than wind. You turn, and it's there, the lictor, perched on top of a twisted support beam. Its skin is color of the burnt oil, its talons hanging like the arms. Just before the string pulls tight, it stares with eyes that are not eyes, and it doesn't rush, it waits. Watching, you see it. Watching, fear blooms across your face. You raise your laser gun out an instinct. It's still dead. But the lictor doesn't know that. Or maybe it does. It drops silently. One long stride, then two. Then it charges. You roll sideways, slam into the gantry base. The flare nearly flies from your hand, but you hold on. The lictor's claw rakes across the ferrocrete where your head was seconds before. Chunks of the roof fly into the dark. You scramble to your feet. No weapon, no cover, nowhere to run. You reach into your coat, the Rosarius. You rip it free, press the cracked sigil to your chest. It hums weakly, but then flares. Not light, not a shield, but a sound, a thrum, deep and sudden, like a heartbeat amplified 1,000 folds. The lictor hesitates, reels. That moment is everything. You grab a shard of rebar from the ground, and you swing it like a pike and drive it into the creature's side. It screams, a horrible bone-deep screech that feels like it drills into your skull. But it's not dead. You drag yourself past it as it recoils towards the flare port. Your hands fumble at the mechanism, manual latch. You pull, twist, click. The lictor is on you. Its talons slam into the ground beside your knees. It's fast, but you are faster now. You light the flare. A blinding bolt of red launches skyward, cutting through the ash, through the clouds, through the dark. It burns so bright. The lictor hesitates again. The sound, the light, something in it stuns the creature, only for a second, but a second is enough. You grab the Rosarius in one hand and slam it into the lictor's chest. Just a desperate blow, but this creature stumbles back. Then further, off the edge, you collapse. Your body trembles. The flare burns high above you. as you look at the Rosarius in your hand. A signal crosses the void. You don't know if they saw it, if they'll come, but for the first time, you believe they might. The flare was bright, streaked across the sky. Still lit, you lie back against a cracked rooftop, eyes to the stars, hands bleeding, chest rising, still alive, and that somehow feels like enough. The stars blur, not from speed or distance, but from your eyes, rimmed in sweat and ash, half-dried blood. You don't know how long you lay there, minutes, seconds. Time doesn't move right in a place like this. Your ears ring with the ghost of a flare. The image of it, that burning red arc tearing through the void, still clings to your vision when you blink. The wind eases, or maybe you've stopped noticing. You close your eyes, let the rooftop cradle you, let your breath slow. Let your weight of the hive melt away. And then a sound different from claws, different from wind, mechanical. You open your eyes above, just beyond the curtain of smoke, moving, descending. At first you don't believe it. Just another hallucination, a mirage in the ruin. But then the dust stirs in rhythm. A low whine cuts through the air, engines, low-grade Imperial, and then they appear. Shapes through the fog, angular, armored, a shuttle, sleek, scarred by warp dust and void storms. You try to sit up, but your limbs betray you. You manage to raise one hand and wave, more of a reach really, but it's enough. The shuttle hovers steady and then descends, landing. Gear thunders against the broken spire top. Dust erupts around you. You cough. You laugh. The boarding ramp opens. Two figures emerge, not giants, in armor. Not Astartes, humans. Navy crew. Faces hidden behind filtration masks. Their boots crunch towards you. One kneels beside you. A scanner hums, vitals steady, he's alive. You try to speak, no sound, just breath. But he hears it, a nod. You're safe now, soldier. We saw your signal.
We're here for you, soldier. Hang in there. We saw the flare.
They lift you gently, strap you to a recovery frame. Your body protests, your mind floats. And then just before you lose sight of the rooftop, you catch something in the corner. A white cloth torn, draped across across the edge of the broken wall. Sister Cadris, robes still silent. She made it somehow. She made it. Inside the shuttle, the hum of the stabilizers lulls. Bright lights flood your eyes. Not harsh, not blinding, just clean, sterile. And then her voice, familiar. "You climbed," she says softly. She's across the cabin, wrapped in a medical wrap, IV line coiled at her arm. But she's alive. You smile, a small one but real. She nods satisfied and leans back. Outside the shuttle window, the stars shift. The hive fades beneath the shroud, and the clouds of ash rest. Just another dead world, but somewhere within it, a flame was lit. A signal was fired, not for war, not for vengeance, but for survival, for memory. You rest your head against the medical padding. Your body sinks, weightless, drifting. Above you the stars whisper. Below you the dead city sleeps. And between you, still breathing, still here. Tonight, you are carried home and rest. You did your job. Now it's time for you to have a good night's rest. As my words begin to fade, slowly they disappear. As you begin to fall deeper and deeper into your lucid dream.